Birth of a Notion is a 1947 Looney Tunes cartoon from Warner Brothers. This is directed by Robert Clampett and Robert McKimson, with a story by Warren Foster, and we have Mel Blanc voicing Daffy Duck. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this. There are some interesting things about it. For example, the character of Leopold the dog is very much like Barnyard Dog, which I thought was an interesting choice, and it worked kind of well. The scientist is a caricature of Peter Lorre. I'm not familiar with Peter Lorre's work, but it certainly introduced me to Googling the actor and finding out more about him. So there are things that this cartoon did give me. But in terms of the actual narrative, I didn't really find it that interesting. It started off interesting. Daffy Duck was saying that, unlike all of the other ducks who fly south for the winter, he's not going to waste his time and energy. He's just going to find a home and stay indoors and keep warm that way. But the home he finds is the home of a mad scientist, this caricature of Peter Lorre, and it just so happens that this caricature, or this character, needs the wishbone of a duck in order to complete his experiment. And Daffy Duck is torn between staying in the house, trying to avoid this mad scientist. The big question is, will the scientist ever be able to truly capture Daffy Duck and get the wishbone? It was interesting enough insofar as I was a little bit curious to see if he would be able to capture Daffy and if Daffy would survive, etc. I had a rough idea of where it might have went. And there were some interesting things along the way, tricks that the scientist deployed to try and capture Daffy. And Daffy wasn't that annoying either. There are times when I really enjoy Daffy's performance, and there are times when I feel like they've turned up the dial on how obnoxious he is. And actually, he was quite pleasant. Leopold the dog, I rather liked as well. So on the surface, there wasn't anything too specific about it that I didn't like. I can't pinpoint anything specific that I say I wish this had been done differently. Although, to be honest, I don't like the design of the caricature. Warner Brothers, when they did caricatures, they give people forehead wrinkles, and that may sound like a really odd thing, but there's something about it. It's how they differentiate between non-caricatures and their Hollywood caricatures, or at least that's how I've perceived them, because most of their other characters don't have deep forehead wrinkles. And the characters look almost waxy. There's a weird design when they caricature real people, and I just don't like the style of it at all. So for me, that definitely didn't work. If you're familiar with Peter Lorre's work and you have any thoughts on what the caricature was like, if you think it was very good, or indeed not, feel free to let me know. But personally, I have no opinion on the accuracy of the caricature. I just don't like the animation design of it. The narrative wasn't too bad, but it didn't really stand out to me at any specific point. It was one of those cartoons that I didn't love. As I said, I liked learning about it afterwards. There were some interesting things about it. But beyond that, it's not one that I would watch again in a hurry. I wouldn't mind watching it again, but it's never going to be in my list of favourites.